Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of You, Season 3, Episode 3, where everything with Natalie is becoming a problem. A pretty big problem. A problem that exists far beyond this tiny little idyllic town.
Yeah, it's becoming a big problem, and it is becoming a problem for Joe and Love.
What I do like about this episode is it's doing a good job of sort of separating this season even further from the first two, where it felt like a lot of what happened in those seasons, even though they were taking place in like New York and LA, it felt very insulated. Like it still kind of felt like it was its own little world. And in this episode, you have Love's Bakery showing up in headlines. You have, Joe and Love and where they live. Like that is out there. Like the name Joe Goldberg is out there. Like there's a lot of different possibilities that can theoretically sort of just like branch out from all of that.
Yeah, this is starting to feel like there's a much bigger spotlight on Joe than he's ever really had to deal with in the past. So things are going to get more interesting from here, I feel.
So before we get into episode 3 here further, and boy do we have a lot to get into, hit that subscribe button. Every day we are here discussing an episode of the show. We're seeing this season the whole way through. It is twisted. It is weird. Hopefully it is everything everyone has been waiting for all this time, but we don't want you to miss any of our coverage.
Also later tonight, Succession. It is back. It is the season premiere, and we're going to be having a review for that up tonight as well. So hit that subscribe button if you're also a Succession fan like we are.
I just had a very disturbing image in my head of Joe Goldberg and Kendall Roy in the same room, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with that mental image beyond just that. So let's just progress into episode 3 now.
Okay, so I'm going to start off by being honest with you guys and telling you guys that this was not my favorite episode of the season. I know we're only 3 in, but I feel like a lot of the material in this episode didn't really move the story of Love and Joe forward that much.
It actually didn't feel like they spent much time together in this episode. Like it felt like we had, Love at the bakery doing some things. We had Joe at the library. We had Joe in the whole measles episode. Like there was all these things going on, but yeah, it didn't feel that connected, and there were important things that happened, but still, even with that, there's not like huge, I think, clues or breadcrumbs that really point us in too many directions after this.
No, the big takeaway that I really liked about this episode was the conversation with Joe and Matthew. So we have this sort of decision made by Love and Joe that they are going to take the scarf that Natalie had bled all over, and they were going to plant it over at Matthew's house because they don't really know him and they think he's kind of creepy, and he kind of is. But they want to try to find a way to distance themselves as much as they can from everything that's happened with Natalie, and they just want it to be like blame Matthew. But because Joe finds out that he has the measles, he's got a fever, he's still trying to push forward to climb over the fence and get over there and plant that evidence. He passes out, and Matthew ends up giving him a Tylenol, putting a blanket on him, taking care of him on the couch, and they have a pretty deep conversation about being dads and kind of the unexpected pitfalls of being a dad, or just things that they didn't expect from fatherhood and how it has changed them in different ways. And after this talk, it really brought Joe to this spot again where he said, I want to be a good person. I want to do the right thing. I can't frame somebody for something that they didn't do. They've already lost their wife. Then they're going to go to prison for something that they didn't do connected to this, or something they shouldn't be punished for. And he brings this to Love, and Love says, I agree. And they burn the scarf, which was something Joe was very surprised about.
Yeah.
But happily surprised about.
Yeah, it shows that she is taking his thoughts into consideration, that they, can continue to agree on things. That seems like maybe they've learned some lessons from the therapy session that we saw in episode 2. But, if I'm Joe, listen, Joe, I don't know if we're going to continue this conversation with Joe the entire season, but it's like, that people aren't always what they seem to be on the surface. You are like this. You didn't know for most of season 2 that Love was a killer. So yes, is Scott Speedman's character Matthew here does he seem like a normal guy? Sure. But he also invented the weird ring thing. We can't forget about the ring thing. I just think this guy could still be up to no good and you're not seeing it.
Yeah, we saw the detectives start to circle around, Joe a little bit more. And as things, Sherry's on the news talking about the bakery and how that was the last place that Natalie was seen. And the spotlight is coming on to Love and Joe more. We saw near the end of the episode that the detective found the ring.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised by this, considering that we saw Love and Joe go back, dig up the body, take the ring. How is it now in her hands?
It's one of these questions that I hope they answer in the next episode, because it was sort of like a wait. What? Because if there are two people in Joe and Love who are taking care of this, I thought they would make sure to sort of cross every T and dot every I and make sure that nothing would come back. Because it's not just one person sort of recklessly doing stuff. Like, we've seen Joe make a number of mistakes in sort of his body disposal practices, including, oh, I'm building a fire out here in the woods. There's nothing going on. Want to join me at my bonfire? Like, they have the ability to plan for everything better. Where did they screw up?
Yeah, this is now the mystery going into next episode. I really want to know, is this Natalie's ring? I mean, they kind of just held up the bag and was like, oh yeah, we got the ring. I was like, okay, well, is this then Matthew's ring? Did he give it up? Is this Natalie's ring? What did they do with the ring? That's where I'm at. I'm all about, how did this ring get where it is and whose ring is it?
I'm all about Sherry here for a moment. Sherry sucks. I'm just saying it. Sherry, listen, Sherry, you said in the last video, Sherry ain't making it through to the end of the season, and I think we have more evidence of this with her. Natalie was my friend.
Oh my goodness.
I cared so much about her. I'm doing all, it's like, if they got rid of raspberries, and we know how Shelly feels about raspberries, you go on TV, raspberries were my friend. They were my favorite friend. Just stop it, Sherry. Nobody likes you. Nobody wants to hear you at these press conferences.
Yeah, it's obviously a very fake thing that she's doing to try to continue to get more followers and get more people interested in her and what she's doing with her mommy blogging.
I think the Matthew part of it, where he does not want to go in front of the public and like talk too much on cameras right away. And I think it was an interesting sort of way that the show is, I don't want to say preaching, but I think they're trying to send a message here about how when people go missing or when people die, there's always like this influx of people who are sort of opportunistic, whether it be the media who has a big story to cover, whether it be Sherry, who just wants to get attention for herself, and it's all kind of ignoring the idea of someone like presuming that Matthew is good and not up to anything, but somebody who is suffering and somebody who wants to suffer and grieve in kind of their own way, as opposed to a million people being like, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to go out there, you got to speak to everybody.
Yeah, grief is very different for very different people. Everybody grieves in a different way, even creepy Matthew. And Theo had a bigger role in this. He was a little bit less creepy. We saw him connecting with Love. Love feels like she put the kibosh again straight up on Theo to tell him to stop flirting, that if he wants to be around and he wants to help, that's okay. Yeah. He was there in the bakery. He was able to help. I was kind of surprised she gave him the key to close up. I mean, there's some secrets going on in that bakery. So, I'm just putting that out there for later on, going on down the road here. But there seems to be something that Love is feeling for him. It's not romantic. It feels like she's seeing 40 in him a lot. And I don't know if he's getting that, but he did mention that his, Matthew is closing down more and more and more. So that's obviously how he deals with things.
I hope you're right with that. I hope that this is she's seeing 40 in him. She's seeing someone who needs to be cared for. And she cared for 40 a lot when 40 was alive in season 2. That would make sense because, yeah, you mentioned her being like, yeah, go ahead and close up the bakery. This is my least favorite part of the episode. I just can't believe for a second that somebody who has basically assembled, may not necessarily be a kill room, but it's still a cage that you have in your bakery. You can't, I don't buy for a second you're gonna be like, here, complete stranger who is weirdly complimenting my body in episode 2. You go ahead and, oh, by the way, also went in there trying to get free food, and she's now like, here's a whole thing of free food that you can eat in its entirety while I'm gone.
I know that they tried to fix up that glass box down there like it's part of the here's a bunch of flour, here's a bunch of baking products, but it has a little shelf to put food in there. Like, who is believing this lie? It is so obviously strange, and it is no. So yeah, I was a little bit surprised by that, but at the same time, her son is sick, and not only is her son sick, her son has the measles, and this is the first sickness, first time being a mom. It's a very serious sickness. I can understand that she was just not thinking, didn't really know what to do, and was like, okay, you want to help? Great, help.
Yeah, and that part of it is understandable, and I did like we had the Joe narration say that time at the hospital was the most scared he's ever been, because
I like that too.
It was such a good reminder of Joe's humanity, that yes, he is a stalker. Yes, he is also a murderer. He has done really bad things, but he is still a human being. He still processes thoughts and emotion, and he clearly does love Henry, and he doesn't want anything to happen to him.
Yeah, and seeing when Joe realized that he also had the measles, and just the intense guilt he was feeling over that he thought that his mother's decision not to get him vaccinated, and now he has the measles, that he had given that to his son and that his son might die. I mean, all of that was very heartbreaking, and it is good to see that Joe isn't just this like straight up sociopath, that he has no feelings. He absolutely does. So it is something that he was really struggling with. That's why, for me, the real highlight of this whole episode was that conversation with him and Creepy Matthew. And yeah, I'm going to call him that all season long until they prove me otherwise, because man, he feels like such a creep.
Oh, he's creepy. There's anybody who admits a tracking ring has to be creepy on some level. We will die on this hill, presumably.
Okay, so later we learned that it was actually another set of parents, Gil and his wife, that did not have their children vaccinated, and their children had the measles, and brought it to a party where then Henry ended up getting it. And because of Love's anger about this, because I'm guessing that Henry's just wasn't of age yet to be able to get that vaccination, he got sick, he almost died, and then having the father just come in and kind of say, hey, sorry about that, but it's okay, he made it through, so forgive, was just not gonna go out. And she ended up clobbering him on the head with what looked like a rolling pin. That whole impulsive side, it hasn't been fixed.
Wait, so you're saying that Love did it in the bakery with the rolling pin?
That's right.
Okay, see, I mean, this is something we'll obviously get an answer to in episode 4. I wouldn't think that a bludgeoning with a rolling pin would be a fatal sort of attack. Like, I would
think so. It depends, I guess, on exactly where she hit him.
Yeah, I guess you could bludgeon him enough, and he could
maybe a little bit of like brain damage.
Maybe he's going into the box that Theo could have discovered.
Oh, I'm sure he's going in the box for them to be able to deal with this the next episode. I don't think he's dead, but I think after doing something like that, if she doesn't kill him, what's the next logical step? Put him in the box until Joe can come and be the fixer and deal with this.
This is all really bad, because it's been established that, a lot of the people in the town have this ring. Does Gil presumably have the ring on his finger? Are they going to be like, oh, why is Gil at the bakery for so long?
Yep, it's true. That's the rub in this, that everybody has this ridiculous ring.
This is sort of the thing with some of this season, is that, like, I'm enjoying a lot of it. The ring stuff is a little bit over the top. I don't know how they're going to land the plane when it comes to this is becoming a nationwide story and people are going to remember who Joe is for various parts of the country. Like, it's a lot that is going on. But I will also admit, I have been, 4 to 5 episodes into a season of You before, and we're only 3 this time around, where I've just sort of been like, there's no way this is going to make any sense. There's no way it's going to come together. And they've proven me wrong.
Yeah, as I said, this is not my favorite episode. It kind of felt like there was just not enough substance to this episode of what I want to see with Love and Joe and what's going on and sort of the mystery around that. But I have faith that this show is going to continue to get us back on path and get me to that place that they always seem to be able to get me to, which is just unexpected moments, things that that's what I love about the show. We've been TV journalists for over a decade now, and a lot of times we can watch shows and see where things are going, and this is not one of those shows. It never has been.
No, and it's a part of the weird joy, and joy is such a weird word to even use with this, but you very much compelling, dramatic. We'll see where things go from here. I mean, we're going to start diving into episode 4, and of course, our video about that will be up tomorrow. So let us know in the comments what you guys thought about season 3, episode 3, and hit that like button, and we'll see you guys here next time.